Hi, I'm Dominic. Thanks for watching Dominic's Woodworks. And this is my contribution to the Kitchen Utensil Challenge, which several YouTube woodworkers engaged in today. Is what I made a kitchen utensil? Well, that's for you to decide, but I think it's a handy thing to have in the kitchen. Because there's a danger in the kitchen, too. Hasn't happened to us yet, and, well, in this case, the lid would do the trick, but just in case, it's always handy to have a fire blanket. This neat piece of furniture made from reclaimed pallet wood holds a fire blanket, the space where you can take down notes and ideas for dishes, maybe what your kids want to eat next time. And it holds a calendar, which is a permanent fixture in our kitchen, so the whole thing went where the calendar was before. And up here you can even store important notes, letters or other stuff like that. And the kicker is, I didn't take a single measurement. Well, not really. So, hope you enjoy watching. For this project I'm using reclaimed wood, namely pallet wood. Like I said, I didn't do any measurements for this project, I just used the main ingredients, namely the calendar and the blanket holder as a guide. As you can see, the calendar is the largest piece, both as far as width and height are concerned. But since I want to add an additional panel for taking down notes, I'll arrange the two pieces so that the blanket holder extends slightly below the calendar, or where the calendar will be. From there I take my measurements without actually measuring them. I just use the pieces that dictate the measurements to set my fence, and then I go for it. The important thing to note is that I wanted to make the piece slim, but I also wanted it to be stable, and since I'm using the same wood for every side, I used the height or the width, depending on how you look at it, of the blanket box plus twice the thickness of the boards to determine the eventual height or the depth, or, well, you can probably see which dimension I'm referring to. I'm using a piece of thin, I don't know what to call it actually, I think it's melamine, but it works as a whiteboard, and I have used it as a working surface for glue-ups before, but there's still a piece pretty clean, and I'm using that once for the piece to take the notes on, and the other side for use as a backer for the calendar. Lucky for me, the stuff I'm using is just as thick as the curve of my table saw, so I use that to make the matching grooves. And as far as the measurements there go, I'm kinda eyeballing it. To put the whole thing together, yes, I'm going for pocket screws because it's simple and it's easy, and there won't be much structural demand on this, the structure anyway. For the final assembly, I use a block plane to chamfer the edges of the whiteboard stock, not only to make it easier for them to slide into the grooves, but also to counteract some fraying on the sides where I think the piece had been stored. At first I wanted to keep the pocket holes as invisible as possible, putting them on the inside, but then it occurred to me that the back of the piece is probably pretty invisible against the wall, and that made screwing them in a whole lot easier. After putting the first braces in without any clamping and having them wander quite a bit, I then used my parallel clamps to secure the back braces in place before screwing them in. Another step that I should have done before assembly was to put in the screw from which the blanket holder actually hangs. Like this, I just referenced it, then drilled a pilot hole from the back all the way through the piece, and use the neat little bit turner to actually screw in the screw from the inside of the piece. I don't think I would have been able to do it any other way, except taking out the brace. To keep the blanket holder from wobbling and to give the top compartment a bottom, I put in another piece, also secured with pocket screws, that leaves the blanket holder with nowhere else to go. I considered putting in a flap on the bottom, but since it would be, well, on the bottom of the piece and hardly visible, I just decided to keep the bottom open as it was. Then I give the whole piece a thorough sanding, starting with 60 grit to remedy some of the assembly mistakes, like the middle slat between the two faces, as you can see here. 60 grit is really good to knock off material. Then I went further up to 80 and then 120 for all the visible faces. I also used sandpaper to knock over the edges on the inside, since I didn't want to risk the random orbital sander to mar the surfaces of the panels. Later I slightly damaged them using the sandpaper, but well, they're still workable. Most of it is hidden behind the calendar. All that's left to do now is drill 2 holes into the wall, put some screw anchors in and attach the bottom half of the cleat to the wall. Did I mention that I'm hanging this from a French cleat? No, I think I didn't. Well, now you know. And that's about it. Put the calendar on, put something important into the top and insert the fire blanket. Don't forget to check out all the other participants in this challenge. You can find the links down in the description. It's well worth a look. I hope this inspires you to make something. It's even free, since it's made from pallet wood. Thanks for watching, and remember to be inspired. Thanks for watching, and remember to be inspired.